Thank you. Anybody need to amend the agenda for any reason? Remove that. Okay.
It's been postponed.
All right. If nobody else will, I'd like to amend the agenda and the appointment that we had scheduled for this evening and postpone that until a further date.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Public participation policy applies to all selectmen's meetings. A copy of it is on the back of each agenda posted in this meeting room and on our website. Public input.
Hello.
Hello. Sydney.
I'm here to speak on the building permit request for Rhines Road. I'm actually here on behalf of my son and his wife, who were both working this evening. They wrote a letter that they asked me just to read into public
Absolutely.
record, and then I have a copy for each of you. To the Board of Selectmen, my wife Rebecca and I are unable to attend tonight's meeting as we are both working. We have asked that this letter be read into record and that you will take these points into consideration when discussing Rhines Road this evening. In April of last year, we obtained a driveway permit for the property we purchased at the very end of Rhines Road. This is the last parcel of public land before the state forest. The land has been professionally surveyed and a driveway has been completed per the permit granted. When picking up the driveway permit, we were also given a building permit with no further explanation of what the necessary steps were. Our engineer completed our septic design and submitted it to both the state and the town code enforcement officer. On October 17th, Mr. Devers asked the engineer to inform us that we would need to obtain permission from the Board of Selectmen to build on a Class 6 road prior to the building permit being issued. He suggested the process can take close to a month and attached an appointment request form for the Board of Selectmen. We completed the appointment request only to be told we needed to go before the planning board before it could go to the selectmen. We next went to the planning department to ask what we needed to do with the planning board to obtain a building permit. We were given a Class 6 private road building permit permission request, which we completed on November 17th and turned into the planning board on the 18th. November 28th, the building department said they were referring the request to the highway department because there was a question as to whether the road is Class 6 or not. The police chief responded on the 28th that he had no concerns with the application. On November 29th, the deputy fire chief also responded that the fire department had no issues with the request. The planning department emailed us on the 29th to let us know that the highway department, who was the last department had completed their review, and we were all set to go to the December 20th planning board meeting. As part of the form completed by the highway department, Mr. Kinman wrote under the comments section that the staff informed him that only 950 feet of Rhines Road is considered a Class 6 road, and that the town has been maintaining that portion to the turnaround at the town line. He then states he will send a memo to the selectmen about whether they would like to add this 950 feet to the Class 5 road as they perform minimal maintenance, i.e. grading and snow plowing, and the town uses it as a turnaround for their equipment. Next, we attended the planning board meeting on the 20th to seek their approval and recommendation to the selectmen. This was done without issue, and on December 23rd, the town planner provided the packet to the Board of Selectmen and said we would be contacted once we have been scheduled with the board. On January 13th, we went to the town hall to ask the status of the appointment request. We were told that they were still waiting on the memo from the highway department and that if it was received by the 17th, we would be on the next agenda, which brings us to tonight. What has been frustrating and what we want to share with you is how difficult and costly this process has been. We would suggest that for the average person going through a process like this for the very first time, information as important as needing waivers and multiple approvals be given at the time the driveway permit is issued, as it would have helped to move us along more quickly. We completed every form as asked. Police, fire, and highway all appear to have no issue with the request. However, once it was suggested that the last 950 feet become a Class 5 road, all of those approvals became void, and we went into a holding pattern waiting for the selectmen to meet on this. We were told that our approval could not be done independently of the conversation regarding the road being reclassified, which to the average person does not make sense. We have met all the requirements. For the sake of future time, for the sake of future first-time builders, we hope you will create a checklist for them to follow so that delays of months can be avoided. Had we known in April that we would need this approval, we would have sought it in April and been well on our way. Unfortunately, since then, there have been 7 rate increases by the Federal Reserve, moving construction rates from an average of 4.65 in April to 7.08 in November. In addition, the contractors that were lined up are now committed elsewhere. We understand that there is a process that must be followed, and we respect that. We just wanted to share with you one couple's rather stressful journey in trying to make our permanent home here in Alton. We hope that if you do not decide on the remainder of the road being reclassified to a Class 5 road this evening, that you will at least approve our request to build so we can begin to work on next steps again. Respectfully submitted, Matthew Johnson and Rebecca Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions you may have?
I don't think so right now, but we'll discuss it once we get to that in the. All right. New business, the fire department, fire rescue federal grant.
This is Mr. Chairman. I put this information in your packet. If you recall, there was a timeline. This was a federal grant where there was a deadline that popped up. We weren't aware that, or the fire department wasn't aware that it was available till very short notice. I had polled the board members by phone about making the deadline in the submission. We had no commitment at that point. It was just a placeholder for the submission in that information, and I promised to follow up with the full application and information. There's no action required tonight with this. This was more of backup information for the submission. We won't know for some time. It's a competitive as to whether or not Alton's even in the running for it. But it was an opportunity. This is 100% grant. There's no matching funds. For this type of rescue vehicle and the cost to have the opportunity to have it funded 100% would be great through the federal government. But like I said, we have no commitment at this point. If we were awarded anything to do with this grant, it would come back in front of the board at that time for decision or approval and review. So this is all the supporting information so that you can look at it at your leisure. And if it comes back to the town at that point, then we'll discuss for some sort of action at that point.
I had one question.
Sure.
Is this an additional vehicle or a replacement?
This is additional. This would be additional. Yep.
So we don't need a motion or.
No, we don't need it. This is simply the
Informational only.
follow-up information.
Informational only at this point.
My question was going to be, is this an SUV or a tank?
It's a tank.
What it is it's
Split proof?
yeah, it's a emergency rescue vehicle, but it's designed for natural disasters, forest de-evolutions, some of the like with the storms with the brush debris and the things coming down, but they also use it for warm EMS. We did a warm EMS grant, which is involving situations like active shooters, where EMS is brought in to treat trauma patients in a warm zone that's not fully cleared of danger. But this type of vehicle, it has I believe if you look at the diagram, and there's 6 litters in there to be able to treat trauma patients and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a specifically designed vehicle for those type of
Quite a rig.
incidents. It is quite a rig.
It is.
It is.
It's impressive. You look at all the detail on it.
Mhm. And I don't think I got the impression in talking to the fire department when they put in for is the appealing factor to it obviously is the 100% match, which most grants aren't. Most you have either 50 or 25% match at least.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, that's the only appealing thing to me. 'Cause if it wasn't 100%
That's it.
match, I
That-
wouldn't
that was
approve
my
it.
first
Yeah.
question.
Yes.
Yeah. But. Anybody have any questions? All right. Building permit request, map 19, lot 51, 3 Rhines Road. Now, gentlemen, I don't have a problem with this because I believe that we actually are already taking care of the road anyway. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a building permit that on a class 6 road. So I don't really have a problem with it, but
Mr. Chairman,
hear what the rest of you have to say.
I'd just like to make a motion and bring it up for discussion,
Okay,
if we could.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the requests of the folks that are requesting the build on the class 6 road, O'Brien's Road, Clark Road, and make sure that the town maintains it and the town brings it back to a class 5 section. Seeing we've been spending taxpayers' dollars on a class 6 road.
I'll second that. Discussion.
The only discussion I have, I guess I lost or you're not here when we changed the policy on this. And I'm just going back to my past years as selectman. And I'll bring up one, for example, the Barsani down on Riverside Drive. At the end of Riverside Drive turns into a class 6 town road. All those folks had to do is come before the Board of Selectmen, sign a waiver for emergency vehicles, police, fire, ambulance. Then they were allowed to build on that off the class 6 road. It was a very simple process. Selectmen listened to it, granted it. There was some recommendations giving for part of the class 6, maybe to bring it up,
Right.
but not a October, November, December, January, 4-month process.
Seems like it was dragged out a little bit
Yeah.
longer than it needed to be.
I mean, I can understand it, but if the selectmen if they can come before the Board of Selectmen, it's a lot of record off one of our class 6 roads. I don't see why we couldn't give the approval to go ahead and build.
Right.
And why it has to go before a planning board when it's already a lot of record. That really kind of bothers me because the planning board at this point should not have a say in it as far as I'm concerned, unless it's a subdivision.
Right, exactly.
And I can follow up with that for sure. I will say, I don't fully understand where the back and forth went. The policy still is to build on a class 6 road is it's a request, a waiver request, comes to the board approves it, you get a building permit. The only thing I know, and I think where the planning board got thrown into the mix is the minute the discussion went from building on a class 6 road to the town taking over maintenance of a class 6 road. Then it became the question, just listening to the letter that was read into record and whatnot, I believe what had transpired was the conversation came up that about bringing the road up to class 5 standards. Then it went to the planning board and the planning department then in turn kicked it back and said, well, we think that the town already maintains it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but based off of your memo, it sounds like that is what happened. It became a discussion about, if you're going to build on a class 6 portion, but you plan to bring the road up to standards, then it does go through planning board because then there's a planning board review. They have engineering oversight of the construction of the road, bringing it up to town spec. But when it sounds to me that when they went to review it for that, they flagged it as it possibly not being any need because the town has already been maintaining it. And then it got kicked back. But the back and forth shouldn't have dragged out that long. You're right. You're right. It shouldn't have for any reason at that point. And we can definitely bring some more conversation into that.
So maybe in the future, as the individual got up and stated that maybe a checklist needs to be formed.
I agree.
And maybe tell the applicant, don't say you're going to bring the road up to class 5 standards. Just say we want to build out to class 6 and we agree that we will hold the town harmless from any fire, ambulance, if they cannot get in.
I'd like to though ask Mr. Kidman, is the driveway actually on a class 6 portion of the road or is it still on class 5? Where we maintain?
Yeah, I mean, technically, by the way I look at the layout and the clock book, it's still on the class 6 road. So that's how I responded to the planning board was the fact it is. I did indicate to the planning board through that process that they have comment that I was going to bring that to your attention and whether or not the board wished to then take by subject of layout the additional footage because we actually have been, and according to the staff, have been maintaining that for greater than 5 years.
Right, which automatically brings it back to.
Automatically makes it a class 5 road, even though it hasn't been formalized and I don't know that it's ever discussed and memorialized by the board of selectmen. So, they've added gravel to it, they've graded it, they've plowed it, because that's where the natural turnaround is for our maintenance purposes. That's all.
So, I mean, and that being said, if it has been maintained, and Scott, you can stay up here and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been doing this for a while too. If we've been maintaining that road for 5 years or better, it's our responsibility to maintain, to bring the road up to a spec of. That's our responsibility. It's not the people building the house at this point.
I wasn't aware of any.
Right.
And any statements relative to the build, the property.
Right.
Bringing it up to, I indicated, clearly in I responded to. I think it was both planning, zoning, I mean, I. Indicated that we already maintain it.
Right.
Right.
But it is technically, by best I can tell, still a class 6 road, which would mean all they had to do is have the waiver signed. Once the waiver was signed.
That's it.
Right.
So.
And I guess that's maybe what should have happened from the building department. So at this point, you're saying by law, it's automatically changed into a class 5 because we've been maintaining it for more than 5 years. So really, the selectmen at this point do not need to recognize, we just have to recognize it as a class 5 now versus a class 6. But we don't need to vote on it or hold a hearing on it to bring it out of class 6.
Right, because it already is.
There it is.
I think, by the way, I travel and certainly you can, but the way I read that statute and everything and.
It reads it very clearly.
It really says that once you start maintaining a class 6 road,
That's it.
town funds, town equipment.
For continuously for 5 years, it automatically reverts back to a class 5 road.
Which is very similar to that if we discontinue, stop doing it for a period of 5 years.
Goes away.
Right, that goes away,
Class 6, right.
but it's been maintained.
So, if we go right on the turnaround and right where the driveway is. Johnson's. Also, bridge across goes into Europe.
Yep.
My understanding is, and been here a lot longer than I have, my understanding is the town line is in fact the river. Somewhere on the bridge. We go back and forth all the time to the loggers that log, in there because it's on state land. Right now, we do take the lead on the bridge as far as trying to protect the bridge. Historic bridge.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
It's up to the board, but let's.
I think we should wait to public input.
Yeah, we'll wait till public input.
There's a motion on the floor.
Yeah, and there's any more discussion on it? Because I don't myself, I don't have an issue with
I
it.
don't
so-
have an issue with it.
Pretty
at all.
cut and dry right now.
It's cut and dry.
Yep,
There's a second already.
yeah, it's,
So
so
it's just-
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we still have to? We don't have to vote to take it as a class 5 road because it already is one, so.
By state law, as you stated.
It's already, yeah, it really is, yeah.
It's-
Nope,
Chairman, I
By state
would
law,
like,
it's already
I would
there.
like to make a motion though.
yeah,
that
I
the
think.
Town
it's
continues to maintain that road.
it's probably a good
As
idea.
Scott said, we could just stop maintaining it and that would not be fair.
I'll second. I'll second.
Any
the motion.
discussion on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Public Works Department, Mr. Kinman, 0 turn bid specs approval.
So during the budget process, we went through what items were in sync for replacement. This was in fact a piece of equipment that is based upon age and even though it has been maintained throughout the process and is still in working order, it is getting to the point where it's at that age for replacement. And so I have drafted up a bid for the purposes of replacing this unit. And it does exceed what the select board had, we did go out and get some pricing. And the pricing does exceed the $10,000 bid threshold that had been set by the board. So that's the reason why it's back, is before you for consideration to put it out for bid. So.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the 0 turn bid specs.
I'll second it.
What are we gonna do with the other one, Scott?
I would keep it as a backup,
Okay.
for now. I mean, really the sense of value, I mean, certainly it does have some value, but I think it would have more value to us as a backup, for taking care of those fields. That, and if in fact, you know, through the process in the future here, if things get expanded or we have a breakdown, we are right now, at least, which is great. Our grounds and maintenance staff, is pretty close to being up to full staff because we just hired in a new person there to assist Brian. So that would be helpful. They would be able to tag team things at the ball fields and expedite that.
These are up over 10 grand, huh?
Yeah.
Can we buy some goats or something instead? Mow the
know.
lawn?
It's
Going up and up.
are expensive.
Wow.
But look at the Kubotas. They were.
No, I know they're pricey. Yeah, nothing's cheap anymore.
Nothing's going down in price.
If you look at commercial ones.
Yeah. The minute you, yeah. Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
I,
All right. What's next? Public Works Department 2023 paving project bid award. I guess you can stay there.
Thank you. So I did put together a memo for the board, basically for the purposes, you know, as you recall, we did go out to bid. It has been several years since paving had gone out to bid here. And it was clearly identified to me by the board that they wish to go out to bid. So we did put that out. We did have, as I've recorded here, we did have 4 bidders, all very qualified companies that bid on what we put out for a set of specs on that. I basically took an analysis in a couple different fashions, and the board can look at those and then look at how they would like to rationalize it out. That way is that I took the 2 low bidders, one being the contractor that we've had for a number of years here. I don't know exactly how long, but it's been a considerable amount of time, from what I understand. And then also another local bidder as well, who I have had experience with in other community that I served as well. They're both very reputable companies, do excellent work. I've checked their references, made calls. Everybody speaks very highly of their work. When you do a couple different analysis, as you can see here, first of all, they did put together a comprehensive individual each item bid on each of the different phases of type of work that we would do. And then kind of looked at all of our work collectively that I gave them in that spec sheet, and they went out and looked at those and then provided proposals. So and in doing that, I mean, there's a couple different ways you can all shake it all out. But if you trying to get apples to apples to a certain extent, which I say apples to apples being, just looking at straight tonnage of machine laid and shoulder gravel in that situation there, you can see that there's not a lot of difference in the 2 companies' prices when you use those 2 different bid items as far as looking at it. I have met with both of the bidders to make sure that we're talking about apples to apples with the complement in which they would come with as far as the equipment, the ability to serve us, and they've all indicated, both of those bidders have indicated that they can serve us. Based on what I can see, I think we would be considered one of the larger towns, other than maybe some state work or other maybe private work that might be considerably higher, but we have a fair amount of tonnage that we're forecasting for 2023 to do. So the thing is that we all, and I've told both the bidders this was that, this I put down what I projected. And what happens is when it comes end of the freeze thaw cycle, then we relook at that. And if things change, and there has to be different types of treatment, of course, based upon what happened with the freeze thaw cycle, that, can impact as to, what type of treatments we do and then how much. and how those quantities go. So, but I put it before the board. Once again, I did have, this past year, things went well with that current bidder. So that's what I have before you that way. And once again, I don't feel that I would be disappointed or the town would be disappointed by either bidder. The only difference between the two companies is that one manufactures their own material and the other one purchases it from a very reputable company that's been doing it for many, many years, Pike Industries.
Oh,
So, and they have a great relationship with them. The only thing that we always worry about when you end up having a paving company that comes in that may not make their own, because there's only a handful of those. I think there's in the state here, there may be only 3 or 4 of them that might do that, is that, whether or not you can make sure you have the support of who they use for a vendor to supply the asphalt. And making sure that if in fact it's a mix issue, that they'll work with, the company that has the bid, which I've been assured that will be the case, then as far as rectifying or taking care of anything, because they ultimately are the ones that hold the bid.
Well, I'm fairly certain that 3 out of 4 of these make their own mix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Allstate does make their own mix, GMI and I think, and then of course, Pike.
So R&D is the only one that doesn't.
Right. They are one of the larger purchasers of mix from Pike Industries. They've shared that with me and
Chairman, I make a motion to go with the recommendation of the Public Works Director to GMI Asphalt LLC for the paving work be done in 2023.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I was gonna ask we've had in the past some complaints about the company. I just didn't know you obviously you're gonna pay attention and kind of watch, make sure everything's done like it's supposed to.
that's part of the process. And that is, once again, I wasn't present for those situations. I have seen some, which I don't know what caused or made those. Different things happen with different. You have to watch what's happening and be in touch. And like I said, both companies I feel can do that. It's the only issue that I have is that, and I don't have an issue with either one. And, when you have somebody that you've been, I just worked with them this past year. I've worked with the company and had ups and downs with, all companies that are involved here. So, and we've always been able to work out everything in any situation that's ended up happening. So.
Okay. As long as you.
If it was a larger separation, certainly it would make it a lot easier. It was a very difficult situation. To try to make some kind of a recommendation that way. So.
I think in terms of what you just said, as long as they stick with what they know and not get into a field they don't normally do, there isn't a problem. And I think that's one of the things you might be referring to, doing something other than roads and paving. And if they get into another field of doing something that they're not usually accustomed to doing, could be the controversy that you might be thinking of.
No, I'm lost here because I hadn't heard any complaints. So
Yeah, the only complaint, all right, then I'll say the only complaint I have had in the past and heard in the past was Harmony Park.
Yeah.
GMI did Harmony Park and there was a lot of complaints about that. And that's what I'm referring to. As long as they stick with what they know best, I think that's not a problem. And when they get involved in other things that they really shouldn't be doing, that's when people raise an eyebrow, and that's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
Thanks.
No, I was talking about the paving,
Okay,
but
I hadn't heard anything about the paving.
Well,
there was a couple roads.
yeah, see, the thing is,
I think we've paved Rand Hill Road twice in the last 4 years, haven't we?
well, all companies have to be watched.
Yes,
Like Scott
absolutely.
said. And Scott, he's proven that ability to do that.
Yes, I have no reservations about that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Your interests are looking out for the town.
I won't be voting on this. Just so you guys know, but I am gonna make a comment because it has been 15 years of, and I don't know who hasn't been listening, but we've had the same company for 15 years and there has been complaints. We've paved roads over for nothing that should have been paved. And we're sitting here as the board with a chance to pick up one of 4 different people on here that we can try a different option. And I have no problem with Scott's ability to manage that at all. I just, it might be time that we choose a different, close your eyes and point your finger for, at this point, you know what I mean? They're all good companies, but maybe we move away from the norm and try something different.
Mhm.
But I won't be, I'll be abstaining from the vote, so whatever you gentlemen choose.
Which company would you be recommending?
I'm not gonna recommend a company because I work with different companies and I'm not gonna put myself in that position.
So no matter what company you would possibly not be voting.
I'm not gonna vote on any of them.
Okay.
So
So
you guys,
still-
there's a motion and a second. on the-
Motion in a second.
So it's up to you guys how you, if.
So the next thing is,
Call the motion.
Yep,
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, you can
All right.
call them.
call the motion. Isn't the motion on the table though?
Yes.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, abstain. New Hampshire DOS Alton EOS Equipment Grant, is that the
Yes.
same one, isn't it, that we?
No, yeah, it's the same type of grant. This is the third page. Yes, Mr. Chairman. When we originally submitted for the EMPG grant, you saw 2 more of these came through the last couple of meetings. One was for the emergency flashing sign. The other one was for an update to the emergency operations plan. The third one that we had discussed and gone with is the emergency operations center equipment. This was a matching grant that we discussed last year with regard to the new equipment for the EOC in here. There was the tables, the seating arrangement, the wireless microphones, the smart board, radio equipment, and the match on this grant would either be a soft match through a meeting time, administrative time. Also, some of the remodeling and building improvements we've done would be considered our soft match, our match as well. We wouldn't have to put any more a cash match out there for that. I know it's been a little while with these EMPG grants. They go about 6 months behind and getting them through to get the grant applications out. So I do apologize that it's been a little while since we talked about these. I'm just refreshing them, but this is the same grant. They all went on one application, and they have, separate breakdowns or contracts for the one, but they all read the same with different amounts in the exhibit, but the procedures and the reporting is all the same for all of them through emergency management.
Okay.
It's one of those.
So this is, all right. Is there any, I'll make the motion if it was, I make the motion to accept the terms of the emergency management performance grant as presented in the amount of 40,000 for the emergency operations center equipment. Furthermore, the board acknowledges that the total cost of this project will be $80,000, in which the town will be responsible for 50% match of 40,000, and to authorize the town administrator to sign all documents related to the grant.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Should be a good one.
Warrant articles.
All right, warrant articles.
All right, Mr. Chairman. So the warrant articles are back up. You have a copy of the warrant articles. The updates that the board had voted on when we had gone through about merging are all in there. Everything has been documented according to the motions that were made and carried in the last meeting. They've all been updated. So bringing them back up tonight, not to read and go through every single one of them. This is more to find out who wants to move the move the warrant article at deliberative, second it, and then speak to it. So we don't have to actually read through every single article, but if you don't mind, I will start with the town's operating budget. Correct me if I'm wrong, that the budget committee speaks to that, correct?
Yes, sir. It's their budget.
Yeah, so. So budget committee will do that. They do the same with water.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then starting on Article 10, the assessing of department vehicle capital reserve. Does anybody want to speak to that? All right, Ruben will speak to it.
I'll do Article 10 and 11, sir. I'll speak to both those and move.
Okay, thank you. Do I have somebody to second those?
Second.
All right, so Paul will second.
Both of them?
Yes.
Do you want to, do you want to speak to both of those?
Yes, sir. I'll speak to
Okay,
both of those.
speak to them. Okay. We will speak to those. So moving on to 12, the benefit expendable trust. Who would like to speak to that one?
I will.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right. Buck seconds. Normally, I believe the person who moves it speaks to it unless you gentlemen want to do it a different way. Are you comfortable with that? Sure. Okay, so we'll just do it that way. If you end up moving the article, you'll speak to it and then we'll go from there. So the fire department capital reserve. And do I have somebody that'd like to speak to that one? Move it.
I'll move it.
Okay,
I'll second it.
80 seconds. Okay. The IT capital reserve.
I'll speak to it.
I'll second.
All right. Article 15, Jones Field Capital Reserve.
Yeah.
Second it.
Bob. Andy, one second. Number 16, the local radio communications warrant article.
I'll do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I'll second it.
Well,
Ruben.
Ruben, okay.
And
I'll
Brock.
second it.
All right, highway reconstruction capital reserve.
I'll move it.
Okay.
Seconded.
All right, rock and asphalt crushing capital reserve.
I'll do that one.
Andy.
I'll second it. Oops, sorry. Paul.
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, Paul. And then Article 19.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Sidewalk number 20, sidewalk capital reserve.
I'll move to speak it.
All right, Paul, LaRochelle. Yep,
I'll second it.
okay. Of course. Article 21, highway building improvements, repairs capital reserve.
I'll speak.
I'll second.
All right. Mitchell seconds. Article 22, bridge construction capital reserve.
I'll speak on it.
I'll second it.
Okay. Article 23, highway equipment capital reserve fund.
I'll speak to that.
Seconded.
The town-owned parking areas. Capital reserves. This was one of the merged ones. All right,
Oh, yeah.
Ruben.
Yep.
Ruben will speak to it. Move it.
I'll second.
Paul. All right. Number 25, the senior center building capital reserve. Bob Holt
I'll second.
and Brock Mitchell. Article 26, Alton Bay Community Center property.
I'll speak to that.
Paul Rochelle. Second,
I'll second.
Andy Morse. Number 27, grounds and maintenance vehicle capital reserve.
I'll speak on it.
I'll second it.
All right, Andy Morse and Rob Mitchell. Number 28 is the new Riverside Cemetery, new CRF and funding. I believe this is another one we merged together into one CRF.
It was merged.
You believe that was the one that we had two separate ones, one for
Yep.
buildings and one for the cemetery, and we merged it into one
Merged it
capital
together.
reserve.
Yeah.
I'll do it, sir.
No, Ruben Wentworth,
I'll second it.
Rock Mitchell, second. Okay. Um. And just so you know, I think you could, most of you will remember this, but the ones for the newer board members, I'll have this all printed out. With rationales and who's speaking to and who's seconding.
Will you have, can you have the number that's in the capital reserve at the time so we can
Yes, yeah.
address
Yeah,
address the people on that?
Yep.
Because
The
they
numbers
like to know that.
are
Yep,
important, yes.
absolutely.
Just to let you know, they did find a way to blow up the papers the other night.
We did, we
For the
did,
capital
we had a good copy there.
Need a magnifying glass.
We got a nice spreadsheet now.
Okay, good.
So number 29, the transfer station building and site improvement capital reserve.
I'll do that.
I'll second.
Bob Holt and Paul Rochelle. All right. Number 30 is the optional veterans tax credit readoption.
I'll move it.
Rock Mitchell,
I'll second.
Andy Morse. Would you like to do the second one as well?
Yep.
Same idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Same thing.
All right. All right, number 32 is Town Hall Building Improvements Capital Reserve Fund.
I'll do it,
Anyone
sir.
spoke to? Okay, Ruben,
I'll second it.
Paul. All right,
Who was that now?
Ruben and Paul.
Ruben and Paul. Article 33, Town Hall flooring.
I will.
Oh.
Go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead, I don't care. I'll do that.
Okay, Bob Holt. Paul, you want a second?
I'll second, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Article 34 is the Town Hall second floor lift.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Uh,
I'll second it, Bob.
Starting to slow down now.
Yeah.
We're on a roll there for a minute.
Who's second on that?
Rock.
Me.
35 is the municipal parking lot capital reserve. Excuse me, not capital reserve, non-lapsing warrant article, the municipal parking lot for $10,000.
I'll do it.
I'll second.
Attaboy, Andrew.
I was waiting for Ruben to do that one. Article 36, Environmental Capital Reserve Fund.
No, Mr. Chair, Mr. Minister.
Okay, Ruben,
I'll second it.
Rock Mitchell. All right. Article 37, the milfoil treatment program.
I'll
Okay,
second it.
Bob Holt and Paul Rochelle. Article 38, Alton Community Services Nonprofit,
I'll do that.
Bob Holt,
I'll second it.
Andy Morse. American Red Cross,
I will.
Paul Rochelle. Have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Brock Mitchell. CAP nonprofit,
I'll do it, Ron.
okay, Ruben Wentworth,
Second.
Paul Rochelle. 41 caregivers of Southern Carroll County,
Do it, Ryan.
I'll second it.
Andy Morse.
Was that Ruben and Andrew?
Yep. 42 is CASA nonprofit,
I'll do that.
Bob Holt,
Second.
Paula Rochelle. Granite VNA, formerly known as Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice nonprofit.
I will.
Second.
Paula Rochelle, Bob Holt. Lakes Region Mental Health Nonprofit.
I'll do it.
Any more? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mark Mitchell. Article 45 is Life Ministries.
I'll do it right.
Okay, Room Warren,
I'll second.
Mark Mitchell. New Beginnings Nonprofit, number 46.
I will.
Paula Rochelle. Do a second?
I'll second.
Your Morse. Article 47 is the Waypoint Nonprofit. Not Waypoint?
I'll do it right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
Bob Holt.
Those are petition warrant articles, aren't they?
They are petition warrant articles. We do have to take a vote. I talked to legal counsel because there was some discussion at the budget committee public hearing about voting or to recommend or not to recommend a petition article. And because if it involves an appropriation of money, then legal counsel said there it is appropriate for us to recommend or not recommend to go ahead and do that if it's monetary. So the budget committee, we weren't sure at that night, but there was no time to schedule another hearing if we wanted to. So they took a vote on the recommendation if it was required by legal counsel, which we did find that if it's monetary, we do have to have that in there. So with that said, I'd like to see if I can get the board to vote on Article 48 and 49 tonight while we're going over them, the petition articles. So that we to either recommend or not recommend for these two petition articles. There's only the two. The last one, 50, is a non-monetary article.
Okay.
I will say that I also discussed with this first article, Article 48, there are some legalities that are some issues with the wording because it talks about a capital reserve that does not exist. It's never been established. And it also talks about just putting excess money into a capital reserve without an actual monetary value. Beyond the 10,000. So that's going to have to require some changes on the floor.
One more,
What's that?
one more.
One more what?
So it doesn't say who can expend it.
Exactly. There's no, yeah,
Right,
no
there's
agents to expend. Yeah.
There's no agents to expend.
So last night when we met, not last night, the night before, I made the motion to bring it forward for the budget committee. And I told them I would be voting no against it because there was no agents to expend.
Yeah.
We went through this a few years ago with Jones's Field and it turned into quite a debacle.
Mhm.
So.
And with that said, the reason I brought that up because of the vote that you had made in the discussion with that, I also asked legal counsel to find out. So what we can do is if the board chooses to go in that direction tonight, as far as because of the legalities of the warrant article or not to recommend it, you do have the option that if the proper changes are made on the floor and seconded and they pass, the legal counsel said that I can bring this back up to the board then to if you want to take a new vote to either recommend or not recommend for the warrant if the changes are made to your satisfaction. So if somebody gets up there and the changes are made so that all the legality concerns and stuff are removed and the article, you know, basically the board's in agreement that it meets the muster or whatever, if you want to take another vote right there at the table, that we have the right to do that. What the difference
But
is.
we can actually move this without having the proper wording in.
Not tonight.
Not tonight, you have to move it on the floor, right?
Well,
Yes,
tonight,
it has to
tonight you
change
got-
on the floor.
Tonight,
Yeah.
we got to make one way or another, prove, recommend or not recommend.
Recommend or not recommend, but not approve.
We can put in the record why we're not recommending it.
Right.
Because of legalities.
Right.
But the people on the floor that did the petition, they're the ones that got to move the article anyways on the floor.
Right.
But if the changes, chances are, once obviously the changes are identified, and I have made attempts to reach out to the petitioners to kind of preempt this a little bit. But if what I'm saying is if the legalities, if the principle behind the motion or the warrant is acceptable to the board and you want to support it, once the legalities are taken care of, we can take another vote once the amendment is passed on the floor, so that when it goes to the permanent warrant, the voters see that recommendation by the board and not a negative recommendation or not recommended, if you choose. If not, it will stand the way it was no matter what, and it just goes forward that way.
Well, I don't have a problem with the sign as long as it's done appropriately.
Yeah.
I don't want to get caught up in a,
Well, you don't want
like
to end up.
Ruben said, a debacle. from the-
Have specific agents to expend.
Right. And as long as all the things are addressed, we can correct it, but. So what do we have a motion for that, or we just,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on the article number 48 for recommendation of Article 48.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be voting no on it due to the legalities of the article and that there's also no agents to expend on it.
So if we vote no, it doesn't make it to the floor, right?
No, it makes
Still
it
goes
to
on
the
the floor because it's a petition article.
Right. Okay, you can change the vote on the floor.
Change the vote
Okay,
on it.
I'll be doing the same thing.
Yeah, what it will read, recommended by the selectmen,
I got you.
and then it will be, what was it be? 0 to 5.
So
Or
I'll second
not
that
right.
motion. Which I think I already did, but.
No.
Anybody else got anything to say?
Is. Do the petitioners know anything about this?
I've tried. I reached out to the lead petitioner and to the principal petitioner, and I have not gotten any calls back, any responses.
So if there's nobody there to move this on the floor, it just gets,
Well, it's done.
it's done.
Well, it all depends.
We don't have to bring this up ourselves. It'll
It's
be
up to the
done.
petitioners. It was
Yeah,
their
Okay,
article.
yeah, that's what I figured. Okay. All right, so
But if the selectmen, if we don't recommend it
Mhm.
and the budget committee doesn't recommend it,
It's still
but
going.
if the people vote for it,
Well, no, it basically what Ryan was saying is when the article is moved on the floor to deliberated session.
yeah,
One would be the first to be asked, why aren't the selectmen recommending it? We tell them why we're not recommending it. So won't the budget committee. It will be explained to them, then they have the right to change the wording of the
floor,
article
change.
on the floor to make it legal. At that point, before a vote is taken, Ryan can ask the Board of Selectmen and the
if they'd like to change
moderator
their
to
vote,
take a 5-minute break to take a vote on that warrant article. So when it goes on the ballot at the town meeting time, it will say recommended or not recommended by the Board of Selectmen.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right now, we're just saying no because the legality.
yeah,
Because of the legalities of it,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, I understand that.
okay.
And
That's good that I didn't realize we could do that at deliberative.
I didn't either, so that's why I
realize
asked
we
the
could do that.
question.
So that makes sense to not accept it now.
All right, any more discussion on that? All those in favor?
All right,
No,
No.
No,
well, no.
okay.
Okay.
I knew what you meant. Oh,
All right. The next one is the Granite State Children's Alliance nonprofit. Again, this is they're raising and appropriating $2,500 to donate to the Lakes Region Child Advocacy Centers. There's no legalities with this one. It's a lengthy petition article, but this it's gone through legal review, and there was no issues with that one as far as language is concerned.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend Article 49.
Second.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then the last one is just reports and committees.
That doesn't need a vote.
No.
Yeah,
no,
that doesn't need a vote. All right, perfect. All right. Selectmen's report. Mr. Holt. Mr. Morse. Mr. Wentworth.
Conservation Commission will be getting their report by Peter Farrell on the Gilman Pond area. He'll be finalizing up his report and turning in them. Once they do, it'll be submitted to the Board of Selectmen. On Tuesday night, the Budget Committee did meet with the budget hearing for this town, Walton and the school. There was a few concerns over it. One was the fire department on overtime. One individual in the audience felt that the overtime was still quite low for the 20,000 compared to what we spent this year for overtime. Was explained that we were going for the two new personnel. Still felt that it was low, and I'd have to say in kind of agreement that it's possible, especially if they had the same calls this year as they had that year. But I did explain it was the chief's recommendation. The other concerns were two of the articles was the assessing and the building. Possibly that didn't need to be there this year, or if we could, maybe the suggestion was to combine those two. Make it the town hall, change the name of that CRF, change it to town hall, but it was explained over a 10-year period, there would be enough money to replace both of those vehicles after 10 years. Compared to what we did do. There was a few other concerns. I don't have all my notes with me tonight. There's concern, but overall it went well, but it should have, because we only had 3 people there. So, and a cramped room at the hiking room. And I would hope next year, and I won't be there, but the budget committee will look at when it gets to that late in the date, maybe they move it to the library or Pearson Road. So it'll be a little more room. It was kind of cramped in there for all of us around there. And Ryan was there and he helped out quite a bit and everything went along smooth though.
Perfect. Thank you. Michelle.
Yes, I just want to say that I'm very happy to say actually and make this official on the records that the master plan was adopted and approved on January 10th at the public hearing by the planning board. This has been in the makings for 2 years and the committee worked very, very hard. I just want to say a real thank you to everybody involved in it. And number one is a town planner, Jester Paul, did an exceptional job. Kelly Sullivan was the chairperson, did a great job. Bob Reagan, Tom Hoops, Russ Wilder, Bill O'Neill, Ron Rubico, and Amy Taravaccia and myself were all on the committee. And I'm just glad that it was adopted and accepted. It was a long process. It's a long, if you get a chance to read it, go through it. Anybody, I welcome anybody to go through it because it was well thought out, well done. The meeting went well. It was well accepted by the people of Alton. There were a few things that we discussed and a few things that were brought up, but all in all, it was all really good, a good evening and good committee. And I think this is going to be great for the town. Thank you all.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was very good. And I think I wasn't at the public hearing, but I think I voiced my opinion on it at the last time when you guys were up. You guys did a great job on it. A lot of work went into it and it was well written. So kudos to you guys for that. They did a lot of work in it and that's good.
Thank you.
I was going to do the planning board thing tonight, but I think we're going to wait and bring it up as an actual at the next meeting.
Yes.
On the, so other than that, I have nothing. So town administrator report.
Speaking of the next meeting, we'll start out then with talking about there was brief discussions. Our next scheduled meeting is the very first day before deliberative session. The idea of pushing it up to the 1st of February, which would put us into the Wednesday before that regular scheduled meeting, give us a few extra days in case there's some prep, some paperwork changes, things for deliberative.
That's a good idea.
So if that is okay with the board members, we can go ahead and formally move that meeting up to February 1st, Wednesday, February 1st.
That's on a Wednesday.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is everybody
with
consensus of
that.
the board? Is everybody's
I
good
think
with
that's
that?
good.
I'm good with that, Ryan, as long as nothing comes up at my end, because that's when we have our meetings is
Oh,
on
yeah,
Wednesday,
okay.
but I'll know ahead of time.
Okay.
So
All right. So moving on from that, the paperwork that you have in front of you on the table, the first thing I wanted to talk about is real quick. Would like the board's permission. This is to move forward with looking at a new municipal credit card. This is the Visa Community Card. The finance manager made contact with this new card specifically designed for municipalities. The issue we are having right now with Bank of America, and may not be something that we can avoid with them, but we've tried. They won't talk to us right now. We had to go through a process of updating the contact person, was still former finance manager from 2 times ago. So we're trying to establish that right now. But the problem we're having is we're receiving our invoices either 5 days prior to the due date or 1 to 2 days after the due date. And they are trying to charge us interest when we don't receive that. And we're not sure whether it's the postal issues that are going on and how slow it is, or it's the timing when they actually send out their invoicing. I mean, not their invoice, yeah, their monthly statements. Our monthly statement is literally coming. I've got examples. She's provided me with examples where it's come 1 or 2 days. It's been date stamped after the due date or the 30-day window. Or we've gotten it 5 days before the 30-day window. And there's no way we can process a check, have the treasurer sign it, send it out, and in the mail, make it in 5 days. So there's been some interest charges that we've been disputing left and right. And we're only going to be able to dispute them so long before they're going to continue to charge them to us. And they're not willing to work with us or do anything about it.
Statements don't come online at first and then you get the hard copy.
No.
Is there a reason why we don't do it that way?
We're trying to figure out exactly how we can change things for the better. But so when we reached out to Bank of America the first time, they wouldn't let us. They said that we needed a letter on letterhead authorizing a new contact person to talk about it. So we went through the process. We did that. They said it would take roughly 24 to 72 hours. So we called back in less than a week. We called back and then they said it would be 45 days. So now we're waiting the 45 days. But this card just seems to be a lot more geared and toward like I said, it's specific for municipalities. And I think nonprofits is the other one. Yeah, 501c3s and us, but all the information that was provided with the application process, what it has for terms and coverage is here in the application process.
I ask how many credit cards we have out there right now?
Right now, each department head has, I shouldn't say each department head, it's each department. So there's one. So the only ones that don't have their own, because they don't really have a need for it, because they utilize ours up here is like building, planning, assessing. They don't have their own cards downstairs because we all have the finance card here. I still have one. It's a ton of minutes. Well, it's my card that from police chief. It never changed because it had my name on it. But the police department's got one, the fire department's got one, highway's got one, and water's got one. So yeah, that's I don't think I'm missing anybody. Parks and Rec, did I say Parks and Rec? Yeah, so Parks and Recs too. Kelly's got one.
And one per department?
What's that?
One per
Basically
department.
one
Yep.
per department.
So the other thing we found out, which we were aware of, was the way that the Bank of America is doing it is right now is so the finances always had a credit card with a $30,000 limit just because for that department, for the town wide, in case of emergencies. The rest of the cards all had $10,000 limits on them. We'll come to find out that it was never, they get separate statements for each card from each department. But the credit card company reflects it as an aggregated amount. So if highway made a big purchase on their credit card, I made a purchase or whatnot. So we only have 30,000 collectively throughout the entire town. So if highway has to make a big purchase, fire does, PD does. We ran into this. It's only happened once, but we ran into it. And Laura went to make a $800 or $900 purchase and the card got rejected. Because we hadn't paid the other invoice. There was a lapse time and the aggregated amount from the other departments, which other department heads wouldn't know what other departments are spending. It should be individual to that card should have a specific limit. So when a department head
Each
needs-
department.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So there's several issues that we're trying to sort out, but Bank of America right now is not being very responsive. And I mean, even when we asked policy questions about their policy, oh, I can't talk to you on a card. When we weren't asking specific information about the card or the money. So we're in sort of a holding pattern right now with them trying to sort out what we could possibly can do. But the terms and conditions of this new card that Laura had gone through, I haven't been through it thoroughly. Everything, they were referred to Laura. And like I said, she has been communicating back and forth the last couple of days with them. And in her opinion, this is a much better card for us. And there's no, the way it's one collective invoice. Each department's listed separately on one statement. I shouldn't use the word invoice, but one statement, each department's broken up. It's one payment goes out. We're not waiting for 9 different statements to come in. that's the other thing. We're getting a statement per card.
That makes much more sense.
It's just the system and what they're doing makes a lot more sense for the town. And that was her recommendation, and she asked me to bring it forward to see if the board was okay with us pursuing it.
Would you have your final recommendation? You
What's
said
that?
you've only read through part of it.
Yes, no, I haven't been through this whole packet, so.
You're gonna be doing away with the other card.
Yes. It's going to take a little bit of a process because obviously we need to make sure that the other cards are up and running before the other ones are shut down.
Exactly.
And then we clear all our balances on all the other stuff. So there is going to be a lapsing time for that. So.
And you won't be able to cancel the card until you get the contact person.
Exactly. So, yeah. So we're doing
It's
with
easier to
that.
cancel that than his Netflix.
Yeah, you know,
So we should know more by the next meeting.
yes. And I'll have her, if it's okay with the board, I'll have her pursue this further. Obviously,
Yes.
we won't commit to anything until we can actually cancel the other card and get some other information, but
So you just need a verbal to move forward with this?
yes, that's fine. I don't need a motion for that. Consensus is we can move forward. No, the consensus, because I'll bring it back to the board once.
As long as
Yeah.
you bring it back.
Yeah,
I'll-
we gotta.
Know where we're going and.
Mm.
I get a consensus on that? All
Yeah,
those,
it's-
yeah.
Move
yeah.
forward.
Okay, thank you. Next is, there was a memo on the desk, from the clerk's office. So this request came in. And, the town, town clerk, tax collector, had written a memo to the board with the background information. But this is basically an interest abatement for 496 Old Wolfboro Road. Because it's regarding to interest and not tax, the actual tax bill, and it's because of an escrow issue. The mortgage company, I didn't put it on the consent agenda because I figured there would need to be a chance for some discussion if need be.
Does this have to be done in?
No, it's a tax, if any kind of an issue
Okay, all
that
right.
involves taxes or interest has to be brought in public.
Yep, public record, right, yeah.
Basically, what it boils down to is they never received.
A bill,
They never
Bill.
received the bill.
right.
And there was a problem with the bank not taking the taxes out, which they thought they were.
Now there's an interest amount of 104.98.
Yeah, but I know I'm supposed to pay my taxes.
Regardless,
Well, there was a lot of folks this year in all that had mail delivered in the rural areas, their mailboxes, they didn't get their mailbox.
I agree.
Because they did not move or raise their mailboxes to 48 inches. They were not raised by a certain time. All the post office would not deliver. And it was stated in a letter to them, saying you'd have to come to the post office to get it until it was raised to 48 inches, even though the postal regulations only say it has to be 42, but Alton changed this. This could have been one of those predicaments too there. It's hard to say with the mail. I know I get some mails at 3 months old and I finally get it, it's tethered, it's ripped in a plastic bag.
yeah, and it's all
Yeah.
tore up and it looks like they kicked it in the
But I
butt.
mean, that did happen to a lot of folks, and there's still some folks going to the post office to get their mail because they did not raise it up to 40 inches.
That's true. I get my mail at the post office anyway, and half the time it's not there. It's not because of the mailbox.
Every time I go, it's closed.
Yeah.
I in the mailbox.
What's up with that?
They never received the tax. That's a known fact.
Yeah, right. So maybe they didn't receive it. That could be.
I mean, is that justification? If I get my credit card bill in the mail, which I get every month. I think we all do. I don't have direct withdrawal, so I don't get it 1 month. Next month I'll get it, and of course there'll be a late charge. I think if I call them up and tell them I never got the bill,
They're gonna tell you, sorry about your luck.
yeah, I mean, I've never gone through it.
What's the board's wishes on this?
The bottom line, they're looking for the interest payment. back.
That's what that's what the
They're asking-
request is.
That's what
Yeah.
the request is, getting 104.98 back.
How many people have paid us interest? Their bills on their tax bills? I don't know that. Quite a few of them or not. I know when I get an interest bill in the mail, I kind of pay it.
Yeah.
I don't get too many of them. I
don't know. I think.
You know, it's easy for us to award the tax abatement. It's hard for us not to award it. And I just try fair for everyone.
Exactly. I just want to be fair too. I just think that everybody knows approximately when your tax bill comes in. Everybody knows approximately. If you haven't received it within a reasonable amount of time, I think I'd be coming down here and checking it out personally. You know, just get in the car, come down here and check it out personally. So
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they didn't stop giving them out.
I have a little bit of a problem. Just it's almost a lesson learned. It's a tax bill. Don't mess around with it, and make sure it gets paid. And as far as the interest is concerned, this one's on you this time. That's my opinion.
The other thing, I believe when the bank pays the escrow amount out to the towns, the receipt does go out to the taxpayer that the taxes have been paid, I believe.
Yes.
So if you not receive that tax bill received paid, you know, there must be a problem.
Mhm.
So
If there's a problem, I check it out.
I can't grant the request.
So I'll ask for a motion.
I don't think you need to ask. for a
I don't
motion.
need to
It's
ask
just
for
the
one?
Town administrators report coming to us.
We'd only need a motion if we were gonna pay it, right?
Right. General consensus.
If
is
we
no.
were, if we were gonna waive. the
If you're
interest,
gonna
we would
waive
have
it
to-
If we were gonna waive it, that's
Yeah.
what I meant. Yeah, if we're
General
gonna waive it.
consensus is no.
Okay, so general consensus is no on this?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next thing I got, put this out to you. So the Public Works Director had come and talked to me. We had a sit down and we had a conversation about the two trees, the one at Ginny Jothers Park and the one out front here at Town Hall. Public Works Director's recommendation, he put a recommendation forward and got a cost. But he recommends that we remove those two trees with a proposal to put a tree base down so that each year we can work to get a donated Christmas tree between 15, 20 feet tall that can be in the center of town, stood up and lit appropriately and then taken down after the holidays. Part of the reasons is they've gone so large, especially the one in this building, the root system is up underneath the corner of the building. We wouldn't be able to pop the stump. We'd end up grinding and just loaming, but it's growing into the corner of the building and up the lines. But as most of you would agree that the one at Ginny Park and this one too is they've grown so big that the electric company's done has made them quite an eyesore. They're not, unfortunately, it's a grand tree. But when they cut one whole half of it off on Wolfboro Road, I never received so many phone calls in my life.
Well, the
So-
scaling on that tree, Jenny Douglas Park, is the decay and the scaling on it is killing the tree too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like it's.
What was the cost, sir?
The cost to remove both of them was $1,400.
It's not a bad price.
That is
That is
not
not
a
a
bad
bad
price.
price, yeah, yeah,
That's a
May
pretty
as
good
well
deal.
do it.
so,
Hate to say it, but
we're all
They asked who
set.
the company is.
Northeast Arborist.
It's a shame to see them go, but.
Yeah,
It's almost
I
all in
mean,
there. Pretty well.
it's getting big.
What happens?
And plus they're really having a hard time with the lighting and the trees
Oh, yeah.
that big. This last time, I don't know I've never seen a tree lit like that before, but.
If you took a picture with your phone, it looked beautiful. I don't know if you saw that.
Is it good?
Yeah,
No.
Yeah,
Okay, I got a picture on my phone.
it was a
I
little
have one,
different.
and a lot of people do. If you look at a picture on your cell phone, it looks very pretty, not a traditional way, but looking the way it was by the naked eye. You said that was terrible
Yeah,
on both of them, but take a picture with this one turned on with your iPhone or something, and you'll see the big
It
difference.
was like 15 filters stacked
Yep.
on top of each other and then layered and spun around. Yeah.
Decorate that tree. I was part of the committee that
oh, yeah,
was too,
Yeah,
putting new lights on that thing and getting a truck over there that was, had a 60-foot boom on it to decorate it properly all the way around it and underneath. Then the wind would come along and half of that would pull out or break or.
The co-op used to be very generous. And then-
Right,
Then it came
absolutely.
down that the higher ups would not allow it anymore.
right. Yep. And
Well, I think once they get so big, like the companies like that are like, okay, we want them down anyway, because they're a burden on the line and
yeah,
they just do whatever. They figure if they lop half the side of it off, somebody's gonna go, boy, that's ugly. Let's get rid of it.
we get a 20-foot tree and put it in the stand. Scott volunteered to put the star on himself.
Looky what he can do.
We got a bucket truck.
Before.
Right, that's what he said.
Because they stick it on before it goes up.
Yeah. That's what a thinking man would do right there.
That's what a big guy thinks.
That's what big fellas do. All right,
So last thing I got for you is,
we don't need to vote on that, or is that consensus?
the consensus, I don't think we need a vote on that for
Okay.
$1,400.
All right, that's fine.
$1,400, you're not gonna get a
All
better
right.
price than that.
Well, I was thinking trees.
Well, maybe, yeah, you're right. There might be some questions. Let's just take a vote.
I think it'd be a good idea if we take a vote because of them trees, but.
Yeah.
I make a motion to. Whatever,
To remove
to
the,
remove the town hall blue spruce and the Jenny Douglas tree for the cost of $1,400 by. what Was it?
Northeast
Northeast.
Arborist,
I'll second that.
all those in favor?
I-
the last thing I got for you is, last meeting, we discussed about the progress of that remodel down in the basement. And the board had asked me for some numbers.
Yeah.
So, the plan with that, I think I went over pretty much the plan. So I got a quote from Ridgestone, which is Ethan Falk, the brick mason we've been using. So he gave us a quote of $14,500. That includes it includes the demolition of the old block walls, the constructing of the new walls to separate 3 offices, applying a smooth color stucco to the exposed block walls, and the wash of 12-foot section of stone wall, and repointing of the piers as required, as needed. It's not a bad price.
That's quite a deal.
Right.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
The walls that he is proposing of building are a 6-inch comfort block.
Yep.
And those have drops for electrical.
For electrical right in them.
And everything right in them.
Nice.
There is, that is the main bulk of the work. He also, there was demolition in there for the block wall into the dump trailer that's parked out there. He did a lot, $1,500 for that. There was some conversation that if we had some employees here at Highway that might be able to do that and save a little bit of money, but $1,500 is bad for the demo. So not for that many block walls.
That guy's got plenty to do.
Yeah, they do have a lot to do. So for that kind of money, it might be worth not tying them up, but so I had the electrical company that was here go down and look at that too. I got a rough estimate of $2,400 on the electrical. What the unknown is for that? Well, one, the unknown is some of the feeds in here, but this might be less money because this is also in conjunction with the energy audit that's going on. They're replacing fixtures down there. So we might be able to just tie in the cost of some demo and then have the energy audit come in and put the new fixtures in. And that's all part of the grant.
That'd be good, yeah.
So we might be able to tie that in. The drop ceiling, a rough number of $6,200 for the drop ceiling.
Is that
That,
gonna be just in the offices or
yes, yeah, not the whole basement.
just in the office?
The offices in the hallway, the whole, section of that, but what is being sectioned off as still basement will remain basement. And then the other number to take into consideration. So what I found out is, so I thought it was only the first area. And when you walk in that bottom door, it drops 6 to 7 inches, the concrete, and then steps right back up through that hallway area. We didn't realize that step actually goes right through the middle of all the offices. So you'd have a 7-foot step right in the middle of the office, the new offices that are created. So I got a number of $3,800 to
Remove and replace.
well, not remove, they're just gonna
Match
pour
up to it.
Oh,
or
match it.
match up, yeah, to it. So there's one section that goes. around
38?
38. So. So if you look at all those numbers, so those come out to right around 26.
26.9.
So if that is acceptable, sort of similar, I was thinking similar to the conditions of the bathrooms, that if that number is or say 30,000 is a reasonable number for the board to approve us moving forward. And then should we, obviously I would reassess after the demo period, because the only unknowns are what we're going to get into if we pull those walls. I don't think there's really much, because it's pretty obvious that they're just petition walls. And there's nothing in the block walls, no drops or nothing. So I'm not anticipating any problems or any future stuff, but should obviously there's any changes, I would treat it just like I have any of the other projects, coming back with regular updates for the board. Obviously requesting further permission to do anything beyond the scope that we've discussed, or the cost.
Funds to come from.
For this particular ones, I would utilize what I can out of there's some money left in the Clough Moral, the interest. And we haven't touched anything from we didn't touch any ARPA
Second into
funds.
ARPA.
So everything we've done up to this part, we haven't touched ARPA. So we still have over $300,000 there in ARPA.
I know there's a lot of things coming up for ARPA though.
No, we haven't used it.
We had a lot of things that we were talking about to use monies from ARPA. We had talked about in the past.
Oh, all this stuff's done. We got our second payment.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but all the stuff that we did through highway, the meter program, all that stuff has already come out. The second payment came back in, but
Are you done
everything-
for a while after this? Redecorating?
redecorating. No, I got to try to figure out the lift situation, but I
Yeah.
haven't got through the whole second egress issue yet, so.
We'll take that.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Yeah,
Yeah.
Credit
Yeah,
card,
credit
take
card.
that, well, I'll put it in the drawer.
So I will make a motion to allow Mr. Heath to move forward with the basement project up to 26.9.
Second.
I'll
Oops, sorry.
Go
Go ahead.
I'll second for discussion. I
Okay.
got one more thing to ask about that. What I didn't see in this is any finish cost for doors. Any interior doors or anything like that. What are we using? For interior.
So the
doors?
interior doors,
Trim?
yeah, interior door and interior trim. So the block walls, he's gonna rough frame, so everything will be roughed out with the comfort block as
Mhm.
far as the openings go. What I would do is order the same 5-panel doors, solid doors that we just put into the 2 new bathrooms.
Mhm.
We want to look at those.
Do they have to be fire rated doors down there?
No,
They do not.
Oh. no.
Okay.
There's one separation between, there's a fire door going into the main basement.
Mhm.
But once you come in and you walk down that hallway, they're just office doors.
Okay.
And the walls are concrete, so you don't have any, so there's constant fire separation from the main part of the basement.
Okay.
But the individual offices don't have to be fire rated doors.
So you go solid core,
5-panel,
panel.
that's what matches everything that we have. That's why I ordered the ones I did for the bathroom. Because they match all of the office doors going down. a 5 panel.
So that just made a little bit increase on this estimation for the work down there for the interior trim.
Honestly, I forgot about the interior trim because of the stucco finish.
You're stuck over.
Yes, it's stucco finish, yeah.
There's still gonna be
There is, you're right.
a certain amount of trim
yeah.
inside there, if you will.
That'll
Are there any closets that's gonna need doors, or is everything's gonna be an open concept?
Just open, just open. Yeah, they're just gonna be open with workspaces.
With workspaces, yeah.
Well, I will tell you that you did the pricing on that
No,
stuff.
this is fine.
Good.
Mm.
Yeah, that was good.
That's all I had.
All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm done.
Really?
Yes,
You mean it?
I mean it. I'm done.
Approval of minutes, January 3rd, nope,
Sent.
consents after the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Sorry.
move we
No, I-
accept the minutes for January 3rd, public session.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Consent agenda approval.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda for January 19th, 2023.
Second,
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Public input. 5 minutes per person on any governmental town business.
You may see this as semantics, but I just wanted to correct that, the part of going to the planning board wasn't brought up after the 950 feet idea. That was given in the very, very beginning. From when there was the discussion between the engineer and the code enforcement officer. It was when they went to the planning board, because I came to that meeting, the planning board said, why don't we recommend to the selectmen that they just take over those last 950 feet? So I think it's just a coachable moment, and I think it's just a misunderstanding of that process. So it's not to point fingers or anything,
It's
but
almost a
just
housekeeping thing.
right. And
Yeah.
so I just wanted to correct that it actually very, very, very beginning, which was what caused the entire delay. It wasn't after.
Yeah.
That, that's all.
It's an unfortunate delay that.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and
Really
you know
shouldn't
what,
happen.
it does, it happens, and you know, it was not malicious intent, nobody did anything, you know, on purpose. But it was there, you know,
Thank you for reading it. It was,
so, yeah. Okay, that's all.
Thank
I
you.
would say.
thank you very much.
You have a good evening.
Warren Carr. I mentioned this when I was on the board, that we ought to have some evaluation of some of our building contractors. Last summer, we had quite an issue with the was the year before, with the road work in town. So say 10 years from now, how is that board gonna know whether to hire these people again? We don't. So I don't know why, I suggested it before, why do we have evaluation? Andrew brought up about, maybe we had some complaints or some issues with one of these contractors, but you don't have anything to go back and look at what these complaints were or what the issues were. Was it just communication? Was it, I don't know why you can't make a chat, communication, job done, et cetera, because you're gonna be gone 10 years from now, and the next group's gonna come in, they're not gonna know any of the history unless there's some paperwork. So I've just suggested maybe that's something you want to set up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
My name is Matthew Dubrell, owner, president of R&D Paving. Obviously, I came here this evening thinking that maybe we'd be the first ones in 10, 15 years to do some paving in this town other than a particular company. I gave all indications that being low bid and that you finally went out to bid, that we had a chance. Apparently, that wasn't the case. And after conversations with the road agent, who we do know well, and a great history of doing work with him and other people, including basically from here all the way to Rochester, that we would have an even and a fair ability to take on your work. So I normally don't speak at a public comment because I let it go as it is, but I felt that I had to speak this evening. Nothing against the company that took it, because when the bid is this close, honestly, I've taken a lot of town and private work when the bid is close, and it certainly can go either way. But this is a town that we've been trying to get into to do work for many, 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 many years. We basically get turned down at the door. The fact that we can't even come in and put a fair bid in for many years, and then finally there's an opportunity to put a fair bid in and we're low, and it still doesn't work out our way. I guess the only question I have for you guys is how low do we have to be able to take a bid in this town? If you can come up with that answer, let us know before next year so we can certainly bid it appropriately. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any more? You coming back up or are you getting dressed?
It's going home.
I was making sure. I didn't want to cut you off. Oh, I don't believe that for a minute, but okay. All right, no non-public tonight?
Rumbo.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Holt, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Doing anything out there yet?
Not yet.
Yep, Donald called, so yep.
See?
Really?